Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Pope.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Pope. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause the times is demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Glad you could be here. Today is the 28th of November, the day after Thanksgiving. Here in America and around the world, it is the same day, actually. Okay, 28th. Sun sign, Sagittarius, fire sign. Fire sign is all about creativity. Fire is ideas. Fire moves. So we got a sign that moves. So the conscious mind is moving. Sagittarius is also looking for truth. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. So Sagittarius, in time of Jupiter, things expand outward, looking for truthfulness. So that's the time we're in. So whatever's going on, remember, that's the energy around us. It's all about looking for that truthfulness of what's going on in life. Okay? Underneath, that subconscious energy underneath is the moon sign. And the moon sign for today is Pisces. Pisces. However, we could see that today is a transition day because we've been in Aquarius and we're going to Pisces. Aquarius has its last aspect going on here at, see, the VC means void of course. And what this basically means is the moon goes through its signs. The moon goes through all of its signs just like the sun does. The moon goes through every 2.5 days. But when the moon goes through a sign, sometimes it gets done with its business, just to paraphrase, quicker than others. Even though it's going to take 2.5 days, an example might be a story. Okay? Sometimes the story takes 2.5 days to tell. Sometimes it takes a day, 2 days, whatever. And after that, there's a pause. And that pause phase is called the void of course. And in that pause phase, it sometimes is a time maybe just to consider what that story was all about. And that's what's going on. So we're getting ready to go into this void of course. It happens quite often. Quite often. Not every time that there's a moon sign going on, but quite often. And so here the void of course goes on about 11:14, and it isn't until 4 o'clock when the moon goes into Pisces. So during that phase, that's sort of like this phase where there's really not anything defined in the subconscious mind. So there's that tendency to wander. Tendency just to kind of feel like, I don't know really where we're going. There's no direction, because there really isn't. There's a transition taking place. So it's a time for us. If there's a pause going on in the universe, it's time for us to take a pause. Take a pause for the cause. All right, and that void of course moon occurs with Sagittarius. Saturn in square with it, and Saturn is all about discipline. So we get to that point of where the Aquarian ideal, that air sign, the words and the actions we speak are now going to become more disciplined. We're going to discipline how we use them, learn something about what's taking place, and we're going to then contemplate that for a couple of hours until we get into this moon sign here, Pisces, where we're now going to feel a little bit deeper, maybe express, let the emotions kind of percolate what's going on with them for a day or two. Tonight we have at 6:30 p.m. we have a square between Mercury, our communication, and Pisces, emotions. So getting ready to get into that emotional world later today. So just let the day kind of go on. Let the day process. Today is a day of really kind of getting into oneself, figuring out oneself. The card here, the tarot card of Pisces, is the card of the moon, which is a card that has a path on it. So it talks about the path that we're following. What's the journey? What is the path? Are we on the right path? All these things for us to explore with our feelings as we go into the weekend here. Okay, and right off the top of the bat, one of the things that we've got going on here is Jupiter is in opposition with the moon sign. That happened a couple hours ago, and that brings an expansion of energy. Remember, Jupiter expands. We already have Sagittarius expanding on its own. Now we've got Jupiter adding more expansion to that. So there's a lot going on. A lot going on in that regard. Let's take a look at where things fall on the tree here. You know where our sun sign is, right here. Our moon sign has been here, but now we're going to switch over to Pisces. Okay. Our numerology for today is the number 1. The number 1 is the beginning. It's the tarot card of the Magician. Okay, the way we get it to number 1 is we're going to add up the 1 plus the 1 plus the 2 plus the 8 plus the 2 plus the 0 plus the 1 plus the 4. Looks like this. Just add those all together. They add up to 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 10 is 1 plus 0, 1. So if we go now, so let's look at things a little bit more advanced now. Okay, start to look into these numbers a bit more. So what we're going to do in that regard, actually let's do this. Okay, what we're going to do in this regard is we got the tree right here, right? And in the tree, better yet, how about this? We got the tree right here, and we start off with 19. So 19 is right down here. 19 is the sun. So we start off with 19. The sun tells us that there's this underlying energy, this light, this responsibility that we need to deal with. Why? Because the 10 tells us that the cycles are changing, the wheels are turning. And that 10 tells us what we need to do. 1 and the 0 is we have to, the 0 is the super consciousness. We have to allow that super consciousness to channel through the Magician by focusing it. And as we focus, the number 1, we focus our energy and we become even more aware of what it is we're wanting to do. So we see a nice good progression in the numbers to get us where we want to get. And we combine that with the truthfulness of the Sagittarius and the upcoming Pisces moon, leaving the Aquarius moon. You can see both of these have a common point here in victory, in this sphere that deals with emotions. So we want to look at the motions and see how they're affecting things. Emotions, they're just water. And so as we learn, this one here is about faith, how things evolve. All right, let's look at the highlights of the tarot today. Why don't we take a look at our upcoming moon sign, which is right here, the moon. This is the card I was talking about. This represents Pisces. Pisces is the moon sign that we're moving into. All of the major arcana cards have a name associated with it. This one's like the corporeal intelligence. It's a quality attributed to this. Corporeal intelligence is attributed to key 18. It means body consciousness and is indicative that illumination is dependent upon bodily states. Until the body organs are evolved to the extent that the higher forms of subconsciousness can manifest through them, it is impossible to experience such conscious states. Sleep is also attributed to this key, and it is during sleep that our aspirations and our efforts are built into organic structure. Every thought we think, every action has some modifying influence on bodily structure. It is said that the way of attainment is the way of return. It is symbolized by the moon, which reflects the rays of the sun back to the sun. The crawfish represents instinctive energy. The wolf and the dog represent the same energy, but in a higher form as a result of evolutionary modification. Also, the wolf is the symbol of nature and the dog of art, because he's a product of human adaptation. The path passes between these two extremes because the way of balance goes neither too far towards artificiality nor allows everything to be influenced by ungoverned natural impulses. The path leads through the well-tilled field to the unknown heights beyond the two towers, representing present human attainments. The ground is undulatory, representing alternate periods of rest and action. The stage of unfoldment is organization. Okay, so what this is showing you, there's a process of organization taking place within the universe. And if we want our lives to unfold, we should follow the way nature is doing it and unfold in that manner. So by learning to understand the meaning of this, we help ourselves to understand how to manifest things in our life a bit more, which is something that we all are working to do. The current moon phase, 41% of the way full. It's a waxing moon. We'll be at that full moon sometime later next week. First quarter moon. Look for Fomalhaut far to its lower left, and Enif, the nose of Pegasus, almost as far to the moon's upper right. The Dreamspell Oracle, it's a 4-tone day, the 4-wizard, guided by the dog. The phrases I define in order to enchant, measuring receptivity. I seal the output of timelessness with the self-existing tone of form. I am guided by the power of heart. On the Mayan Zolkin, today's a 9 Manic. Difference between the two is here's where we're at right here, and here's where that 9 Manic is. So we can see where we're at. The difference. You decide how you want to use this, what applies to you, what doesn't. Space weather, solar wind 369.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index is currently between a 1 and a 2, which is quiet. Got a coronal hole up towards the top of the sun, a big one at the bottom, but nothing directly facing the Earth. However, there is an indication that the end of this month, beginning of December, we will feel something from the previous coronal holes that were there. M-class flare, like yesterday, is at 30%. X-class is at 5%. Geomagnetic storm activity, 10% in the mid-latitudes. It gets as high as 20% in the higher latitudes. And on the Jewish calendar, today is 6 Kislev. The daily thought is the only child. Why do parents love their children? Because the lower world reflects the higher world, and above there is a parent and he loves his children. Why do parents of an only child have an unconditional love for the child? Because this is the truest reflection of the world above. Above, each one of us is an only child, and his love to us is unbounded. All right, very good. That gets us started for today. As always, UFO News is up next.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. First sighting takes us to Poppocateptl. It's our favorite volcano in Mexico. Here we have images caught on the live webcam. Contrast was added to the photos to see the UFOs more clearly. This is a great shot of a cloud orb. Sure, it is a bit of a blur, but hey, he got it. And the video shows us how it moves. The orb itself appears as a cloud and moves extremely fast. Its size is about that of a motorcycle. Judging from the birds and the buildings, it looks like a fluffy white orb, which is what it wants. It tries to hide in its true skin by taking on the appearance of the clouds around it. However, this one came extremely low over the buildings and still had not changed from its camouflage in the clouds. This all took place at the foot of the volcano Poppocateptl, famed for its UFOs entering and exiting it. Alright, and here's a video of that. Now this is actual footage, it looks like, from someone actually in the area. Alright, very good. Now there is, however, a link to Poppocateptl webcam. It's at First Contact Radio. Right on the right hand side, you'll see the link there. And you can just click and watch the live webcam. Check it out, maybe you'll see something. UFO causes massive explosion as it enters the volcano in Mexico. So we're at the same volcano. What happens when a UFO moves so fast it can't hit the brakes fast enough? Your answer is here. A massive explosion. This long UFO was seen moving from the right of the screen into the mouth of the volcano. This is more proof that an underground base exists 4 to 6 kilometers below the volcano. You have to watch carefully, pausing the video every second or you will miss it. From its length compared to the diameter of the mouth of the volcano, we can determine that the UFO's length is 100+ meters long. That explains the massive explosion and the clouds that lasted for hours. So today, an eruption of the volcano of Colima and Jalisco. As usual, there is always strange phenomena of volcanoes, and even more in these events, so that we find an object enters at a high speed just before the explosion. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Video is, looks like 1 minute, 21 seconds. Alright, something goes on here. Let's back up. Alright, looking for the UFO to fly into the mouth of the volcano. Let's try that again. Happens quick, I don't see it. But there comes the explosion. Alright, let's look here again. We got it. There you go. Wonder what happened to the UFO. If it crashed and caused that, I wonder if it was damaged and crashed, or if it was okay. Very interesting indeed, interesting indeed. Alright, here's a story from latestUFOsightings.net. Controversy over a modern astronaut figure carved in a 300-year-old cathedral. I know you've seen this one before. There you have it. Even with the most advanced technology, the universe remains a challenge with mankind's current knowledge. Stories on these mysterious phenomena were collected by Epoch Times and Beyond Science to open up formerly impossible possibilities and to stimulate the imagination. Whether they are true or not, it's up to you to decide. The carved figure that seems to be reminiscent of a modern astronaut can be found in the facade in one of the entrances of a 300-year-old cathedral in Salamanca, Spain. The cathedral's construction started in 1513 and completed after 220 years in 1733. Naturally, many questions can be formulated based on what the eyes see and what the mind thinks. Ideas of supernormal power, of foresight, time travel, ancient aliens, and many theories that come to mind. Salamanca, Spain is known for 2 cathedrals, and one of them may be one of the oldest cathedrals in Europe, the Cathedral Vieja, constructed in around the mid-12th century. The other one is the Cathedral Nueva. The figure of the astronaut appears in the one of the entrance of the Cathedral Nueva. The figure looks like a modern astronaut equipped with a helmet, breathing apparatus, and boots. He appears to be grasping on his right hand a vine, acting as a harness running across his waist, while his left hand seems to be grasping a nearby leaf for support. It is a fact that astronauts did not exist throughout the construction of the cathedral until it was completely done. However, the cathedral underwent a restoration in 1992 because of the significant damage over the past few centuries of the Puerto de Ramos, the name of the Cathedral Nueva's entrance. Stoneman Miguel Romero reportedly added the current astronaut figure, which possibly supervised by Geronimo Garcia de Quiones. The theory was reported by Ancient Code, Deciphering History Together. Traditionally, cathedral restoration includes anything from modern times, and in this case the restoration team decided to choose the astronaut figure. However, others believe that the astronaut was already there on part of the cathedral during the restoration, and that the work just repaired the damaged carving of the astronaut. The difficulty of finding photos of the facade before the restoration work is added to the controversy of the Salamanca Cathedral astronaut. Okay, so there you go. What is that all about? Good question. Here is a documentary for you to watch. It's an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to leave the whole thing up to you. Phil Schneider died in 1996. Previous to his death, he had been on tours across the United States speaking out on the various subjects, including his involvement with building secret underground base in Dulce, New Mexico for the military. During this time, he is said to have had an encounter with a violent ET race in the late 70s, which would change his whole world reality immediately after. The documentary explores some of the information Phil Schneider spoke about in the public in the 1990s by examining each claim in detail with expert opinions from Richard Dolan, Richard Sauter, Neil Gold, Cynthia Dreyer, etc. So there you go. It says in this documentary we'll find never before published photo of Phil Schneider's autopsy documents about the Philadelphia experiment from Oscar Schneider's files, and a very well explained background about the underground bases. So it's a good video. Look, I've seen lots of stuff about Phil Schneider. I followed the story. I'm going to stick to what I always say about this. Phil Schneider shot first. He saw creatures that he hadn't seen. He didn't like the way they looked, and they didn't smell right to him. There was a smell that was in the area. And based on those things, he pulled out his gun and started shooting and killed 2 of them. And then they reacted. So we can't know and we can't say that this was a violent species, because the only violent species was Phil Schneider, who killed 2 of them based on what he saw with his eyes, which was simply creatures that looked different than him. So, sorry, I can't go with the Phil Schneider case based on what I've heard and I've watched and I've learned and I've talked to people over and over. He shot first, and that changes the whole nature of the story. I would have liked to have known what would happen if he didn't shoot. Maybe there would have been a communication that would have occurred. But we'll never know, because he shot first and killed 2 of them. Alright? Onward. Marilyn Monroe. There's old Marilyn. 50 years ago, during the most amazing flap of flying saucer sightings at the USA and the world, the Air Force almost admitted that at least some sightings of UFOs and saucers were sightings of objects not made here. However, when the opportunity arose during a large press conference in late July, instead of admitting that the Air Force couldn't explain the sightings and that some high officials were seriously considering the interplanetary hypothesis, the Air Force, General Samford, said everything could be explained as natural phenomena, effectively slamming the lid down on the UFO subject. But what the Air Force said privately was a different matter. The report tells the story of what happened in that amazing year. The world became aware of the flying saucer sightings in the summer of '47 with the nation and worldwide publication of the report by Kenneth Arnold on June 24th. In the subsequent weeks, hundreds of thousands of sightings were reported in the local press throughout the USA and in other parts of the world. The Air Force quickly became involved because some of the AF pilots and many commercial pilots were also witnesses. The Air Force quickly and publicly denied having any secret projects that could account for the UFO sightings. The denial was made privately to the director of the FBI at that time when the AF asked the FBI to investigate the sightings. Yes, there was an X-file. The FBI found no evidence of communist subversive activities or communist sympathizers involved in the saucer sightings and stopped actively investigating in the fall of 1947. The Air Force carried on, however, compiling compilations and collections of sightings reported by AF pilots and other qualified observers. By the fall of 47, the Air Force Air Materiel Command, AMC, at Wright Field, otherwise known as Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, had concluded that flying saucers were real and not visionary. A statement and report by General Nathan Twining, head of AMC at the time, and required a special investigation group to determine what they were and where they came from. In early 1948, the investigation group called Project Sign was set up. By the late 47, the official position of the Air Force that there was no unknown phenomenon called flying saucer UFOs causing UFO flying saucers was well known and generally accepted by the scientific community and the major news media. Witnesses were often criticized or made the butt of jokes for reporting impossible things. Nevertheless, sightings report continued beyond 1947. Agencies responsible for the security around the nuclear power and atomic bomb installations were startled by sightings near secure areas starting in the late 1948, continuing through 49 and 50. In 1950, a special project, Twinkle, managed to obtain film of unidentified high-speed, high-altitude objects flying over white sands. The evidence was rejected and or suppressed. In 49, the Air Force issued the final report called the Grudge Report, which claimed that all sightings at that time had been explained. The report was later criticized by the general in charge of the Air Force Intelligence, General Cabell, who called it worthless as tripe. Nevertheless, it became the official word of the Air Force, and the American people were told that the AF had closed its saucer investigation. It had not, however, as Grudge continued into 1951. In the fall of 51, General Cabell became aware of the publicized sighting at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, which interested him because it involved radar. He asked for a briefing on the investigation of that case. At the briefing, he was told that for all practical purposes, the saucer UFO investigation project was dead. At the very least, it was not following his earlier instructions to investigate all sightings. Cabell was angry. He realized that those under him had lied about the project. He ordered that the project be reorganized and revitalized under new management. This new reorganization, which began in the fall of 51 under the direction of Captain Edward Ruppelt, was underway at the Air Technical Intelligence Center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base when 52 hit. The name of the project was changed in March 52 to Blue Book, a name that became famous as the years went by. Ruppelt was the director from late 1951 through 53. It was the most unbiased, scientifically oriented, and publicly known UFO investigation by the airport. It is likely that there were other investigations which were not and are still not publicly known. Air Force officers and personnel who continued Project Blue Book after Ruppelt were not as unbiased as Ruppelt, and the scientific quality of the project deteriorated in the following years. Blue Book was formally closed in 1969 after collecting about 13,000 sightings, of which 700 were left as unexplained. Project Blue Book was just getting underway and was ill-equipped to handle the year of the UFO. Nevertheless, the information collected during that time has lived on as a great mystery. We are left asking what really happened and why did the Air Force cover it up. Enter 1952, the year of the UFO. The whole UFO book could have been written about this one year, during which the ATIC received about 2,000 sighting reports, which I present here will only scratch the surface of that amazing year. Alright, and then here we can see we have a lot of information. In 1952, the issue of Life magazine, an issue that would not soon be forgotten. The cover of the issue was an irresistible combination of sultry, sex, and saucers. It shows a dreamy or a sleepy Marilyn, you know which Marilyn, with her eyes half open, and her luxuriously loose dress slid well down below her shoulders. She was the talk of Hollywood. The cover asserted, for those who could remove their eyes from the provocative appearance, there was in the upper right-hand corner of the cover a statement which must have come as a shock to many people. There is a case for interplanetary saucers. So there you go. Check that out. That is our UFO news for today. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace.
Continue on. Continuing on with the parables today. Jesus Friday. I like talking about Jesus. Good examples, good stories, good lessons, things we should know. Alright, here we go. This is, in the list of parables, it is parable number 38, Matthew 21, 28 through 32, and then continuing on, 33 through 44. First one's called the two sons. So what do you think? There was a man who had two sons. He went to the first and said, Son, go and work today in the vineyard. I will not, he answered. But later he changed his mind and went. Then the father went to the other son and said the same thing. He answered, I will, sir. But he did not go. Which of these two did what the father wanted? The first, they answered. Jesus said to them, I tell you the truth. The tax collector and the prostitute are entering the kingdom of God ahead of you. For John came to you to show you the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But the tax collectors and the prostitutes did, and even after you saw this, you did not repent and believe him. Okay, pretty good self-explanatory, right? Basically, you've got the tax collectors and the prostitutes represented by the first son, who they first heard the word, and hoping that the first word would change them and they would say yes, they said no. They ignored the word. But the word grew and continued to grow in their hearts. So eventually that no turned into a yes. As opposed to the other son, who simply said yes and then did not do what he said. So it was almost the opposite. For the seed that grew, whatever was there died away. Or maybe it wasn't honest to begin with. So you can't judge a book by its cover. We can't look at someone and think because they heard something that they're not eventually going to take it into their heart. Sometimes we need to be patient and allow others to figure things out. Here's the next one, wicked tenants of the vineyard. Listen to another parable. There was a landowner who planted a vineyard. He put a wall around it, dug a wine press in it, and built a watchtower. Then he rented the vineyard to some farmers and went away on a journey. When the harvest time approached, he sent his servants to the tenant to collect his fruit. The tenant seized his servants. They beat one, killed another, stoned a third. Then he sent the other servants to them, more than the first time, and the tenants treated them the same way. Last of all, he sent his son to them. They will respect my son, he said. But when the tenants saw the son, they said to each other, this is the heir. Come, let's kill him and take his inheritance. So they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. Therefore, when the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those tenants? He will bring those wretches to a wretched end, they replied, and he will rent the vineyard to the other tenants who will give him a share of the crop at harvest time. Jesus said to them, have you read in the scriptures, the stone the builders rejected has become the capstone? The Lord has done this, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I tell you that the kingdom of God will be taken away from you, and will be given to people who will produce its fruit. He who falls on the stone will be broken to pieces, but he on whom it falls will be crushed. All right, let's take a little look at some of this here. It says with some parables, it's easy to determine the different meanings in Jesus' audience. Actually, let me jump up here. Let's sort out the people and the things, the parable, then and now. What does the vineyard represent? Who does the vineyard owner represent? The servants, the owner of the vineyard, the tenants? Just trying to find some good explanations here about this. Alright, with some parables it's easy to determine the different meanings of Jesus' audience and to us today, but with this parable it is more difficult. It is fairly obvious that in Jesus' day this parable described both what had happened to the Jews, rejection of the message of the prophets and of John the Baptist, and what would happen, Jesus' death on the cross, and ultimately God's judgment against the Jews, after which the Gentiles became the tenants and were welcomed into the kingdom of God. But what does this parable mean to us today? First of all, we Gentile Christ followers have become tenants, minding the vineyard. But what is the fruit of the vineyard, and who are the representatives or servants of God who have been sent to collect the fruit? When you think about it for a minute, it's quite clear. Just a few chapters further on, Jesus says, whatever you did for the least of my brothers, you did for me. So what Jesus is saying in this parable is that God expects us to use the gifts he has given us to help the poor. It is simple as that. Read those verses in Matthew and the parable will be fully explained. So, yes, both of these definitely deal with the ideas of using one's gifts. But this is talking about also what appears to be false owners and real owners. The real owner could be like God, and God put someone in charge, or someone was in charge and they abused their right. They became over strict, and so in abusing their rights, they were hurting others. And then when the real true believers stepped in, they took the place back. The Son, obviously representative of Jesus, the Son of God coming down, being killed, crucified. We have time to look at this one here, the wedding banquet. Matthew 22, 1 through 14. Jesus spoke to them again in a parable, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like the king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, and they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, tell those who have been invited that I prepared my dinner. My oxen and fatted cattle have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet. But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army to destroy those murderers and burnt their city. He said to his servants, the wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited do not deserve to come. Go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find. So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, both good and bad, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. Friend, he asked, how did you get in there without wedding clothes? The man was speechless. Then the king told the attendants, tie him hand and foot, throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are invited, but few are chosen. So this sounds rather harsh. If you take the story at face value, why would he throw somebody out? Invited them in. But there seems to be some deeper meaning to what's going on here. Something deeper. So, let's take a look at this. It says many interpretations of the proper wedding attire to be righteousness, and find many passages that seem to support that. But this may pushing the symbol a little too much in the story. Where would he get the righteousness? The king expected him to have it to join the wedding feast. Someone suggested that the king provide the attire, but the man refused to have it. That is adding quite a bit to the parable, and such addition is not necessary. We can leave the symbolism a bit general and just say that the man did not prepare properly to act on the invitation he received. So there was an invitation to the banquet, but not all who responded to the invitation were allowed to remain. Thing had the man tied and cast out into the darkness, where he would be weeping and gnashing of teeth. The outcome of this man's situation informs us of the true meaning of the symbolism. We have to say that the proper attire would correspond to all that Jesus said was required for the entrance into the kingdom of heaven. True repentance for sin and faith in Christ, and a commitment to love and obey the Lord as evidence of saving faith. In Jesus' day, many people certainly wanted to enter the kingdom, but when Jesus started telling them to come and to take his yoke upon them and learn of him, they went away. In the day of judgment, many will claim to have done good deeds, but Jesus will turn away because they have not dealt properly with the basic issue of salvation. They will not be prepared properly and spiritually to receive by the King at the wedding of the Son. Okay? So, very interesting. Very interesting parable. I think it has everything to do with our mindset that, the sons, those who would be expected to be there right away, they weren't grateful for what they had. And so things were offered to others, another opportunity was given. Shows that we have opportunities presented to us all the time. And when the opportunity came, this one was not clothed properly. And if we think of clothes simply as the outward appearance of things, and we limit ourselves to that, then we only see that. But if we look beyond this and the clothing as the whole attitude that clothed this being, perhaps the right mindset wasn't there. And that is what was recognized. So it's important that we be prepared at all times, for we never know when change is going to take place in our lives. And being prepared simply means having the right mindset. And the right mindset should be the right mindset that we're able to have through all of life, one that is constantly adapting to the situations that we are in. And if we adapt and we allow ourselves to be prepared, then when the moments where we have opportunity, we can make the most of them, because we will be seeing clearly, seeing properly, seeing the divinity that we need to see. So there you have it. That's what I seem to get out of these parables. And if you have something else, write to me, let me know. All right. Let's me jump on here next to this is an article for In 5D. We're talking about manifesting in our lives. We talk about it quite often. Everybody's trying to manifest it. I mentioned earlier about manifestation. Well, here's an article that deals with that idea. Okay? It's called Creating Your Own Reality. How's that working for you? By Ellen Dye. There's been a lot of buzz in the past few years about the law of attraction and the idea that we create our own reality. But is that true? Do we really create our own reality? And if so, why would we create some of the things we've created in our lives and in our world? Are we masochistic or just nuts? The idea was popularized in the late 70s in the Seth Material, a group of channeled books by Jane Roberts. It was a radical idea, and it pretty much caused heads to explode all over the place. About 10 years ago, The Secret brought the idea back to popular culture as everyone embraced the idea of envisioning themselves as to wealth and success. So what do we really create? Our own reality? If so, why aren't we doing a better job of it? Creating more love, joy, peace, and abundance for ourselves and our world. What's the holdup? Why aren't we all out there doing just that? Well, we are in fact divine, powerful creator beings, and yes, we are creating our lives in many ways, on many levels, in every moment. But here's the rub. ER, for example, the disclaimer. Okay. There's a number of points here. It looks like we have 9 points. Most of the time, we are creating unconsciously from deep beliefs, assumptions, and expectations that we may not even know we have. And it is very hard to take responsibility for our role in creating situations that we think are somebody else's fault and that we don't like and we think we would never create for ourselves. 2, we are creating in a vacuum. As they say, you are God, but so is everyone else, and most of us are totally unaware of that fact. And many would actually recoil at the notion. We are co-creating with the millions of other creator beings in this world who are also creating unconsciously and who all have different needs, wants, and agendas. And the creations of all those beings often impact each other's creations. What we see in our personal lives in the outer world is what we get when that happens. 3, energizing the vision of what we want is usually only the first step. And sitting on the couch waiting for what we want to miraculously appear won't work. We must take action. Remember, the idea of God helps those who help themselves. 4, once we set the vision, we must let go of the outcome. When we try to control it, we prevent the flow of the magic that can bring us something better than we ever imagined. When we are too specific about what we want and how it will look, in essence, we tie God's hands. It will probably take longer to manifest and make than perfect mate with those 57 specific attributes than the wonderful mate that has many better qualities than we could think of. 5, sometimes we actually get the essence of what we want, but it does not come in the package we expected, or it looks like we thought it should, so we don't even notice that we received it. 6, there is a timeline, a gap between our sending out the creative impulse and their attention and the manifestation of it. And in the meantime, our impatience, negative beliefs, doubts, fears, and or lack of action can delay or cancel it, or even create the opposite of what we want. For example, if we send out the intention to attract more money, a new job, a new love, or whatever, but we subconsciously fear or believe that we don't deserve it, then there is only a limited supply, that it's hard to get those things, or that we will fail. Those fears or beliefs actually prevent us from attracting what we want. 7, we often manifest the easy, non-essential things quickly, such as a parking space or the perfect jacket to match those new slacks, simply because we have no deep-seated beliefs against our receiving those things. 8, there is usually no clear-cut observable cause and effect, and the timeline gap vary widely, so it is difficult to practice and hone our manifestation skills. And 9, we just aren't supposed to have what we are trying to create because it is contrary to our life plan, purpose, or highest good. These are the times when we pray, and the answer really is no. Often the very situations in our lives that we would like to eliminate are there because of a soul or life plan. And these situations will not shift until we fulfill our purpose, provide what service we had planned to provide, learn whatever we intended to learn, outcome our fear, empower ourselves, take action, and shift inside. For example, if we came into this life with the sole plan to experience a disabling accident or illness, with the idea that the situation would allow us to learn to receive love and assistance and to give others the opportunity to provide it, it is unlikely that any amount of working with the law of attraction or envisioning will heal us. Alternately, if our soul's life goal was to overcome a disability and we've done our part to learn to grow from the situation, a path of overcoming it will present itself. Of course, overcoming may look a little different from what we thought we wanted. Too often we view the idea of creating our reality as a quick fix to all of our problems, a magical means of controlling our lives and our environment, and even the people around us, though our unconscious minds and our egos to create all of those material things and exterior circumstances that we think we want and need to be happy. Too often we view the idea of creating our reality as the magic pill to make us instantly wealthy and thin or whatever. while we conveniently bypass the messy, hard parts of learning, growing, and persevering. Okay, so let me jump down here. Let's look a little bit there. It says, how does this work? Inventor Nikola Tesla told us if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. The being called Abraham, channeled through Esther Hicks, teaches us that we are all creating our reality under the law of attraction based on the vibration we are putting into the world. In essence, they say that we get back what we put out. There is a famous adage, as above, so below. The lesser known and perhaps more important in these times of great change, corollary to that is, as within, so without. The law of attraction, based on our vibration, explains how the corollary works. We can only attract into our lives people and circumstances that resonate with the vibration we are putting out. This isn't a new concept, and we've had this idea for centuries, although it is usually interpreted to relate to our own actions. We reap what we sow, or, the more contemporary version, what goes around comes around. The idea of vibratory resonance takes the idea to a new level and gives us another way to work with it. In fact, we are in a continuous feedback loop. Whatever we present in our lives is a direct reflection of the vibrations we previously put into the world. And to that, some of us just have to say, ouch. What we experience and how we feel about it provides the feedback. If we don't like what we are experiencing and don't feel good about it, we must raise our vibration in order to attract something better into our experience. Another way to look at this is the idea that doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. If we want something to change, we must change something about ourselves or what we're doing. All right, more to the article. I'm going to leave that to you. It's a really good article. Very good article, as you've heard so far. And I'm going to move on to our channeled message today. And this one comes to us from Mother Earth. It's always good to hear a message from Mother Earth, because we do live here on the planet, and it is good to know that Mother Earth is supporting us in the way that she is. So, let's listen to what Mother Earth has to say to us today. Here we go.
Mother Earth channeled message.
November 26, 2014, by Laura Luna Ashley.
Sometimes in life we get scattered in life and not focusing our connection with the source. God is the key. There is new frequency to pull towards the source, God. You will connect on much deeper level with God. With the vibrations on Earth accelerating, we are being pushed to draw more deeper into ourself. A lot of you are going to be feeling these energies. Lots of fears are coming to surface. You are going to be pushed to clear them. It's time for you to really structure your beliefs and finding the source to why you worry. You're not alone. At this time more angels are assisting you. Many of you have spirit guides working with you on your awakening. It's important for you to know you must live in the now. To raise the frequency you must find love and joy in every moment, that is the key. The key in healing. Time is illusion. You are ancient beings. You have traveled throughout this galaxy, learning and evolving, experiencing consciousness in all things. You are healing all timelines. That is why humanity is experiencing such chaos. You are the gatekeepers of light. You all have inner knowing of truth. Truth is your birthright. You were all light. You are the stars. You use your light to navigate the darkness. You will soon discover the true meaning of oneness. You see the prime creator, God, exist in all things. How else would demons and low entities exist? They are just beings who stays very ego-based. Everything has purpose. You ever heard that story about the angels who disobey God? Yes, and you are prepared to remember who you are. Nothing is stopping you. You will find more people speaking up. The Earth has her own chakra points. Those vortexes are spinning full of new cosmic rays and new energies coming directly from the source. There is new frequency for all of you to tune in, dear ones. And so it is.
Alright, good message from Mother Earth reminding us of what's taking place, the changes that are occurring. and how we just really need to tune in. Tune in to Mother Earth. All right, let's tune into our own essence right now. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath, and exhale again. I want you to imagine yourself out in the field. The sun is shining upon you. The wind is blowing across your face, through your hair. And as you sit there, you feel the calm, peacefulness of Mother Earth flowing through you. And as you watch the world and look at nature, you see that no matter what seems to be going on in the world, nature seems to move at its own pace. And so the more we tune in to Mother Earth, the more we learn to move at this pace, this natural pace, this pace of nature. And as we move in time with nature, we find life unfolding smoothly and easily. Because we stay in the moment now. And in the moment of now, in the present moment, we find that which we are looking for. And the doors to where we want to go open easily. So just imagine ourselves walking through life in complete understanding of who we are and why we are here. What we are here to do. And with this understanding, we are able to assist others. And imagine assisting one person, and they go out and they assist others. And pretty soon, this spreads till all around the world people are assisting and helping each other. So let's imagine through this network of assistance and help, let's just send love right now. Imagine from the heart chakra the color green going all around the planet Earth. Sending healing energy down into the earth. And this love and light up into the cosmos. Let all our space brothers and sisters up there know that we are beings of love down here upon the earth. We look forward to meeting them, speaking with them, learning from them. Let's contemplate the words of this affirmation. If I can dream it, I can live it. If I can dream it, I can live it. And allow yourself to dream and then live. So let the subconscious mind continue on that path of dreaming and living, sending out love, sending out light and positivity. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. We've made it through another show, through another week. But wait, there's more. That's right, tomorrow night. Tune in. FirstContactRadio.com. I've added a show Saturday nights. I will be at KCAA Radio. And if you're in Southern California, you can just turn on AM radio. Serves the Inland Empire. If you're not in the Southern California area, KCAARadio.com, or just go right to FirstContactRadio.com as always, and there you will find it. But the Saturday show is a call-in show. It's 2 hours long, and you can call in, and we can interact and have a different type of way of communicating. So there you have it. Hopefully I'll talk to you tomorrow. Till then, you have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.